Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel Java Stories, and we are building these SQL LeetCode questions. Today we are going to solve question number 618, Students Report by Geography. It's a premium question and it's also tagged as hard in the LeetCode. So what is given to us? So we are given this table student with two columns, name and the continent. So what we have to do, uh, we need to write a solution to pivot the continent column in the student table so that each name is sorted alphabetically and displayed underneath its corresponding continent. The output headers should be America, Asia and Europe respectively. The test cases are generated so that the student number from America is not less than either Asia or Europe. The result format is in the following example. So suppose we have a table like this. How we need to generate the output? We need to make sure this America, Europe and Asia columns are like this. Now we have to convert these rows into columns, and it is very much given that there are only three continents: America, Europe and Asia only. No other continent is there because we cannot have variable number of columns here. At the same time, if you see, in the America, Jack and Jane are there. In the Asia, Zai is there, and in the Europe, Pascal is there. Before attempting this question, we need to know how we could pivot the rows into columns. So we are going to see that first, and then we are going to attack this problem. So let us go to the Excel. So suppose this is the table and I want to convert these rows into columns, like America, Europe and Asia should come like this. And what I really want, that each row should contains the name of the America only. So how we could do this in MySQL, because I'm not going to use any keyword pivot here. I'm just going to use the case statements. Suppose I do like this, select star from, and the table is student, suppose. Now if I do case statement, case when name equals to America, I will say, then I will say name, else null and as America. Because we have these three columns, whenever we need to convert the rows into column, of course we need to write those columns in the select statement. Similarly for Europe and similarly for the Asia. If I do this, so if I check the first line, when the cursor is here in the table, it will check, okay, the continent is America, of course is going to give me the name as Jane. Then this statement is going to get run for the very first row, and the name is Europe. Of course the continent name is not Europe, of course this will come as continent only, not name, continent. When go with this, when continent is Europe, the continent is America, then the name, otherwise it has to be null. So this will come out to be null for the first row, and when the third case will be evaluated for the first row, for this row I'm talking about, let me highlight this row, I'm talking about as of now this row only, so this will also come out to be null. Now I'm coming to this row, so I'm going to mark this as blue now. Now this is my current row. If I run all these three case statements, it will come. The first one, of course, this then will not work because it is Europe, it will case null here. The second case statement, which comes out to be Europe, which is true, we are going to print the name itself. This will come out to be Pascal, and the Asia will come out to be null. Similarly for the third row, because these two will provide me null values when this case statement will run, and when it comes to Asia, it will come Xi. Similarly for the fourth row, here Jane will come, and this will be null, and this will be null. So With the help of case statements, we could convert these rows into columns just like this. But how our output is looking in this question? In this question, the output is looking something like this. Let me just take this to the Excel sheet. My output should look like this. So basically, if you check, let me just cut it here and let me just cut it here. Rather than looking like this, what I really want, the first line should contains like Jane should come here and Zai, because the first one from the Europe should come in the first row itself, Zai, and the first one from the Europe should come in the first row of this table. So we need to do something about this. So we need to do some grouping here, and how we could do the grouping, let us see that first. I need to group by based on some numbers. Suppose if I'm able to convert this table and I add another column here, row num, it should be like America should get 1 and 2, because I'm going to do a partition on this continent table and run a row number. This will come 1 and this will come 1, because how? Because this, let me just convert this table into, first of all, in the grouping by statement, so that I could easily explain this to you. When I'm grouping by based on this continent, by grouping by I means I'm doing a partitioning. I'm going to use a window function. So these two rows will come here, this will come here, and this will come here, and the row number will be work like this. Let me just get rid of this blue column here and just make it white. Now when the row num will come, because I'm doing a partition on the continent, so this will come 1, this will come 2, because this is my window size. When I'm doing a partitioning on the continent, this will be a single window, this will come as 1 and this will come as 1. Now let me just get a little bit of smaller here, 12. Now if I use this table, consider this table as my student new table, and I'm doing a select star from student new, and I'm telling him to group by on row num now. So when I'm doing a group by on the row num, this table will be grouping by based on the row num. So this table will get converted something like this. Let me just show you a glimpse of how it's going to turn. Let me just put it here. 1 1 will get accumulated like this, and 2 will come like this. So this is one grouping. This is not a window, this is a grouping. So let me just give a grouping color of orange here, and this is my second grouping, and this I'm going to give a little green color. Let me also give a yellow color. So this student new table, when I am doing a grouping by group by row num, this will look like this. Now I'm going to run some case statement here. Whenever we do grouping, either I could use directly this column row num, or I have to use some aggregate function, right? I just cannot use, okay, just give me name and continent. This will not work, because I have grouped by based on the row num. Either I could use directly row num. If I have to use any other column, then it has to be some kind of an aggregate function, and then I could use those columns within the aggregate function. So I will talk about the aggregate function a little while. So when I'm going to do a select statement, it's going to run on all these three, because the select statement is going to run on the grouping windows itself. So the first select statement going to take into account all these three rows. The second select statement, when the cursor will be here, the cursor will be pointing to this whole green window. The first time the cursor is going to point to the whole orange window. So what I'm going to write, I'm going to write case when continent equals to America. Same thing I'm going to write, then name, else null, and as America. Okay, now let me just copy this. Let me just copy this again. This is Europe and this is Asia. Okay, now because this will not run because I have simply used the column names, I have to wrap this inside a aggregate function. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to do this max and then I'm going to write the case statement. Similarly, let me do a max and then let me write this case statement till end here, and max, let me write this till end. Now how this will work, let us see that first. Let me just make a little smaller. Let me make it 12. I think so it's now visible. Let me just do, hope this is visible now. So when I'm going to run all these three case statements, these three statements are going to run first time for this block, and the second time all these three statements is going to run for this second group by clause. So if I just do America, Asia and Europe, let me just do this as Asia and then as Europe and Asia. Suppose let us run for the first statement for whole of this orange block. So when we have to just select when the continent is America and only this row will be selected under this orange block, then it's going to print the name as Jane. When it is going to run this statement, it will just select this row because we are just going to select the Asia row. It will just select the Asia and it's just going to print the Xi. And in case there is a Europe which is only this row, it will just going to print the Pascal here, which really we want. And why have we used maxed? Because whenever we are just selecting, there is only one row. Suppose there is only one row here, and that's why max will always return that single row itself. Suppose somehow we have another orange table. Suppose let me just make this as orange, which will never be the case because we are doing the row num in such a way that the one will only get for different continent one will be unique, under different continent one will be unique. But somehow if this is also 1, then what this statement is going to return, case when continent is equals to America, then these two rows will be selected and then it has to print the name. The name are two now, Jane and Jack, and then we are saying do a maximum of it, so it will just going to get the only one, which comes out to be either Jane or Jack. If we are just doing the order by based on the alphabetically order, then of course it's going to be Jane. Descending is Jane, ascending is Jack. So only one row will be selected, and that is the use case of max here. We have to use max because whenever we do a group by, we directly cannot use any column name directly. It has to be wrapped inside the aggregate function. Hope you got this, but this case will never arrive. To America can never have row number as 1. Different continents will have unique row number. There cannot be like to America having row number as 1 because we are going to define the row num in such a way because we are going to do a partition on the continent. So this has to be 2 here. So this row comes out to be this. This was green earlier, so let us go to the green here. Now when the second time, when the cursor will come here and again all these 3 max select statements will run, if you just check, America, Jane will come here because this row will get selected only, and when we run these 2 max case statement, there is no row there, so this will always come out to be null. Hope you got the gist here. The gist is two things here. The first thing, whenever we do a group by statements, we directly cannot use the column names. On the column which we are doing the group by, we could use that column directly, but other columns we cannot use. We have to use with some aggregate functions. So that's why we definitely need a max here. Second, whenever we are trying to convert the rows into columns, we have to use the case statements in the MySQL. So when we are running this max statement for this whole block, because we have group by based on the row number, so all these three statements will run on this block. First, we are saying when the content is equal to America, this row will be selected and the Jane will come here. Again, the second, this max statement is going to run on this block. We are going to get Asia, which comes out to be Xi. Similarly, when the third max statement is going to run on this block, it's going to give me a Pascal. Now this block is over. Another block will come and all the three max statements will run on this green block. For America, it will give you Jane. For Asia and Europe, it is going to give you null. As simple as that. This is the way we do the pivoting of rows into column. Now let's go to the data grid and try to write this query there. I am in the data grid. I have already created this table and also inserted the data there. Now the first thing which I need to do is I just need to do row number partition by continent, order by name, ascending order. I think so we need to do the order by based on the ascending order, sorted alphabetically. And what I'm going to do here in the data grid, order by name, ascending order, yes, as row num. If I run this query, sorry, something went wrong. If I run this query, I got this. So America 1 to Asia 1 and Europe 1. I'm just going to group by x dot row num and select. We're going to write some case statement here. Case when continent is equal to Asia, America first, then name else null and as America. This is what we need to do. X dot continent, then x dot name 1, 2 and 3. This is Asia, this is Europe. Asia, Europe, from. If we run this query, this should not run because we are doing a group by on row num and we are using some other columns like x dot name, x dot name, x dot name. So we need to do some kind of a aggregate function. We need to do wrap all these select statements, these case statements into an aggregate function, and we could use max here. Max works beautifully here. If we run this now, we should get Zach, Sai, Pascal, Zane and all these things. So we are able to do our solution. Now let us submit this solution into the LeetCode and check if we have any failed test case there. I am in the LeetCode. I am trying to submit this solution and try for the first test case. It has done successfully here. Now let us submit for all the test cases. We are able to submit and we are able to beat 16.44% of the users, which is quite okay. If you are liking the content, then please like my videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel and also share this video to all your SQL friends. Till then, goodbye.